Good evening. Welcome to Vibin with Ashley Live. I'm your host, Ashley Live, and tonight is episode 151 of my show. Tonight, I am bringing back the incredibly talented singer, songwriter, and guitarist Joanna Serenko from St. Louis, Missouri. In 2019, she released her debut single, Best of Me. In 2020, she was on NBC's hit show, The Voice, and finished in the top 9. Her debut album, Best of Me, was released on Tuesday. So Joanna will be joining me as well as her boyfriend, Tyler Dale, and we're going to talk all about this new album that was just released. And Joanna's in the room. Hi, guys. Hello. Hi, guys.
Hey. What's up?
How are you?
I just wanted to make sure that this is the right. All right, here we go. A little up, a little more. Perfect.
Hi, guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us.
Yes. Thank you. I'm so excited to chat with both of you. This new album is amazing. It is perfection, Joanna.
Thank you so much.
I'm so excited to talk to you about this album, the creative process, the writing, the collabing, and all of that. So guys, let's just hop right into this. Let's just do song by song. We'll talk about the creative process. If you have any specific stories or ways that you talked about these songs, feel free to let me know. And Joanna, your mom's in the house. So hi, Mom.
Hey, Mom.
Hi, Mom. And
Awesome.
so yeah, let's just start at the very beginning. So this album was released on Tuesday, your debut album. Massive congrats. So the debut single, Best of Me, is the first song on this album. So let's bring it back to 2019 when this song was released.
Absolutely. All right, so 2019, I was 18 years old, and I wrote this one out in my bedroom, and I just held onto it for a minute. But I was graduating high school that year, and so my graduation present from my dad was to give me some studio time. So Best of Me and Good Side kind of both go hand in hand together, because I recorded both of those two up in Brooklyn with my cousin Jake, and he played drums on it and produced them. And so those two kind of go together, but it was definitely a period in my life where music took hold and brought me out of some stuff. So I'm super thankful for everyone involved in those two. It was Jake Goldbass on drums, Kyle Miles on bass, Horace Bray on guitar, Brett Williams on keys, Kate KS and John Splithoff both did background vocals on those, and it was mastered by Jeremy McDonald.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So those are a great start to the album to kick them off, and we kind of just started recording more up until now. So it's finally out, and we couldn't be more happy with it.
Yes, it's so beautiful. And I love that the debut single is Best of Me, but the debut album is Best of Me, and Best of Me starts off this incredible album.
Yeah, I also think that maybe Joanna should speak a little more into why we released it on 2/2/2.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Okay,
so
yeah.
On Tuesday, a once in a lifetime date that we'll never see again in our lives. It represents potential and how the best is still ahead of you. And so we were like, that's the date that we want.
Right. If you guys are into like angel numbers at all, like 2/2/2 is the best is ahead.
And being on the right path for your life. And that's definitely how we feel about this album, for sure. And so that's the date that we marked that we wanted to release it on. And we had like 2 months to get there. So we just like started hammering some stuff out, and yeah, and here it is.
Yeah, so basically like after Best of Me and Good Side, she recorded all of those songs in New York. And then the rest of the album is basically recorded out of Sherpa Studios, which is located in Brentwood. Okay. And the recording engineer there is Brian Rybeck. And then also we've worked out of Songwriter Studios with J-Mac, and then some remote recording. Trent Bilo, he's been our mixing engineer. And we've done some recording. Actually, we did Nobody Else over there.
Yes.
So it's kind of been all over, recorded from all over St. Louis. And
yeah. So the next one on the album was Sister Nostalgia. So I released Best of Me before I went on The Voice, and then I released Good Side right after that. And then took some time to I get adjusted back into school. You know, I went back to college, and took some time to get back adjusted to that. But after that, we recorded Sister Nostalgia back at Sherpa, and my cousin Jake from Best of Me and Good Side sent us remote drums, and so we recorded it like that and kind of just pieced that one together. But yeah, that song's kind of about like, instead of the nostalgic, like the good feeling you have with nostalgia, it's like the icky feelings you have of nostalgia and things you don't, that felt good in the time that you don't particularly want to remember anymore. So that's what that one's about. And yes, Tyler produced that one, and he produced the rest of the album as well.
Yeah, that was really fun. For me, there were so many beautiful moments. That's not the first song that we wrote together, and we'll get into that when we get there. But that's the first one that we, like she said, that I produced, that we like started recording together at Sherpa. And quite honestly, like the main thing that sticks out to me about Sister Nostalgia was there was a moment where we were scream crying in like the best, most positive, beautiful way.
Oh, wow.
It was like our first night after recording everything. We had the bass, and we had like the drums, and so our buddy, and actually my professor from SIUE, Zebediah Briskovich, he's the one who played bass. And then Dave Grelly, who's worked with Joanna, and he's been an incredible musician all over the St. Louis area and beyond. He played keys. And then Logan Miller is a guitarist, and he's a worship leader in town at Waypoint, and we are in several projects and bands together. But we all got together, we recorded the rest of Sister of Nostalgia in the studio at Sherpa, and right afterwards we came home, and it was like our first time like comping everything together. Like we, you know, put the bass part together and the piano, and we were listening back to it. We were just so happy. We just started like screaming in my living room at like 3 or 4 a.m. Just like so excited to like capture that moment.
Yeah.
Wait, so you call it scream crying?
Yeah.
Because when I think of screaming and crying, I think of like, I don't know, crying because of like you're sad or you're angry or you're like really excited, but scream crying. So was it like at crazy levels? Like, were we at a level 47?
Yeah, it's just like, you know, when you're like so grateful for like everybody in your life, and when you start seeing, you know, everything come together, and you know, like one of the most beautiful things about songwriting, I would say too, especially with the song like Sister Nostalgia, is Joanna wrote that alone in a bedroom, you know, by herself on the acoustic.
Yeah.
And then what happened was, then she brought it to me and played it, you know, and then we together started piecing, like, okay, well, what instrumentation do we hear? What kind of groove do we want, you know? And then like, you know, it's almost like the song starts off just with the acoustic, and then like all of a sudden you finally hear everything you've been dreaming about. You hear like this perfect key part that Dave came up with in the studio.
Yeah.
And like this amazing, you know, bass part. Like it all comes together.
Yeah, it just grows from a little seedling into a tree. So
yeah, I think that's so cool how the creative process comes about. Because, right, Joe, you wrote it just by yourself, and then you brought it to Tyler, and Tyler sprinkled all his magic, and everybody else came involved. And then you're like, wow, this is...
Exactly.
Yeah, like, it's kind of like watching a plant grow. You have the seed, and then it just blossoms into this beautiful flower, and you're like, wow, this is insane.
That's exactly how I feel, especially, like, whenever I bring songs to Tyler, and they're just, like, ideas in my head. And I have chords that, like, could work, but like, you know, could be way better, and I always bring them to him, and he just finds exactly what needs to be heard, and it always works out perfectly. So
it's always a collaboration, though. It's not just me. It's like literally all the people that we work with. You know, that's the beautiful thing when you're working with other musicians. It's a constant collaboration, and you know, it's always like, well, what if we did that here? You know.
Yeah.
And that experimentation on the songs can be really fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think it's so cool to have really creative, amazing people that you collab with, because you might have it one way and then you bring it to someone else. They're like, hey, we should try it this way. And then you're like, never thought to do that, but let's just give it a go.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So let's bring it to track 4, Pushing Together, Pulling Away. Now, this was released in February before the album actually came out.
Yeah, so Pushing Away, Pulling Together is the first of the 3 singles that are released before doing the album. So kind of to promote the album, I decided to do like 1 single a week on each Tuesday. So actually, wait, it was the second one. That was the second one, my bad. The first one was Rewind, which we had to sing with you today. And so the second one is Pushing Away, Pulling Together. And this one's one of my favorites on the album too, because it's like me and Tyler doing it on acoustic guitar and vocals, and then Zeb comes in on this upright bass, which is just so stunning and beautiful. And I love that it's like this 300-year-old bass, and it just brings this resonance to the song, which is so beautiful. And yeah, it's about just like, it's about self-care. Like, it's about pulling away from the things that are toxic and like inhibiting you from being your best self. And so that's kind of the spot that I was in when I wrote it. And yeah, it's blossomed into what it is today.
And that's also the only song on the album that has the stand-up bass.
Yeah.
Like Joanna said, we're sitting there in the studio and Zeb's tuning up and he starts telling us like, oh yeah, this is from the 1700s, and we were just like totally blown away. Like, you know, and it was so cool. There's a theory called morphic resonance where it's like, you know, items hold things, hold memory or hold energy. And so we were just like talking about like, how cool is it to think about this bass from the 1700s and like the energy that it has, or like who's played it in the past, and like, you know, now the fact that it's like on her debut album, it's just, you know, a really cool connection.
Yeah, 1700s? What?
I know.
Yeah, so
Amazing.
yeah, crazy.
So track 5, Starshine.
Aw, this one, yeah, is another example of one that just started with me on the guitar, playing it out, and yeah, bringing it to my band and just making it like way more grandiose and beautiful. Actually, so it was all the same people in St. Louis who I did the last 2 with, and Garrett Schmidt played flugel on it, which is one of my favorite parts about it. He really crushed it. He's another professor at SIUE. And yeah, it's just one of my, you know, I don't know, one of my favorite songs. I wrote it a little bit after I wrote Slip, and it's just about having a great friend in your life. So yeah, I love that one.
Tyler, do you have anything to add with Starshine?
Well, with Starshine, it was just, you know, I felt like whenever she first showed me, it was just the guitar. And, you know, we were always constantly kind of like, I wonder like what kind of sounds should, you know, and one of the thoughts behind it honestly was, okay, so we have 14 songs on this album.
Yeah.
And right at the moment, we only had 1 song that had any horns on it, and it was Good Side. And so we were like, well, we don't want to release, you know, an entire album and not have any other horns on it, but, you know, one song. So we were kind of like, so there were 2 songs that kind of needed, you know, we thought it needed something to kind of tie it all together. And those 2 songs were Starshine and Lose a Thing. And so, yeah, we originally told Garrett, like, we just want kind of like a flugel thing on Starshine, you know, because it's sort of jazzy, you know, but like we didn't want to make it like, you know, too jazzy. It's just kind of like in between, you know.
In between coffee house and like jazzy.
Yeah,
so it's like,
and so we just thought the instrumentation with drums and bass and piano and trumpet kind of had like a little cool vibe to it.
Yeah.
Honestly. And so, yeah, so Garrett used to play on Broadway, and he was like the #1 trumpet player. He's a fantastic trumpet player, great teacher. As you hear throughout the, you know, like this interview, we're talking a lot about SIUE. That's where I graduated from. And so that's where we pull a lot of those musicians from, You know, Miles is the drum instructor, Zeb's the bass instructor, Garrett is the trumpet instructor. So, you know, we definitely get to pull, you know, from some of the top musicians in St. Louis, and we're, you know, so ecstatic to have all of them on all these projects.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's so amazing that you use so many artists from St. Louis. I mean, because you guys live, it's so cool when like you go into the community and you're just like, yeah, you're the best at what you do. Come be on this album with me.
100%.
Exactly. Yeah, that's how we feel for sure. So grateful for them.
Track 6, Lose a Thing.
Yeah. Honestly, this one was one that I was like messing around with the cover one day and just kind of like found a cool chord that I dug in it, and just like I recorded it on my phone and just kind of recorded like a little chord progression on a loop, and just kind of sang some melodies over it. Yeah, and until I found something that I liked, and I was like, okay, I can work with this, and just kind of built a song out of it. And it's called Lose a Good Thing, because it's like when you've got something so great and you've got something going, you have this tendency to want to back away from it because you're like, well, it's so perfect, like I don't want to lose it, you know? And so like that's kind of what the song's about, and that's kind of what Slip's about as well.
I feel like we've all been there. Like something's really good, we're like, okay, is it gonna be good?
Yeah, exactly.
Like change up on me.
Yeah, for sure. So that's another one that Garrett played on, and it's kind of this like harmon mute vibe, which is really cool. What else can I say about Lose a Good Thing? Again, we recorded it at Sherpa. Kind of went back and forth about putting acoustic or electric on, but we went with the electric guitar to open it up, and I'm super happy with it. It's like one of the grooviest songs on the album.
Definitely one of my favorite drum fills on the whole album too.
Totally.
At the very end, Miles just nails it.
Anything else you want to add about that, Tyler, about the song?
I think, you know, like, you know, we could really go into so many different little details, honestly, on every song, but like, musically, I like to think about what each song kind of brings musically, and one thing that brings, not only does it bring like these minor chords to it, but it also brings, there's like a breakdown in the middle of it, where it like just cuts out to, you know, the drums and Joe and the bass. I love it anytime, you know, a song can do that, like breaks down to just the bare minimum and then like build back up to some, you know, big moment. And so that was one of those songs that kind of does that, that breakdown to build back up.
Yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite parts about it too.
Slip, which did we talk about Slip earlier?
Oh, I just mentioned it just because it's kind of like the same kind of meaning behind it as Lose a Good Thing. Like, how did I get this perfect thing? Like, I lose everything. Like, how am I going to keep this in my life, you know? So that's kind of what it's about, just being really grateful and like, not trying to push it away, but also like really wanting to be careful so that, you know, I don't mess anything up.
Slip was also the very first song that she ever showed me.
Yeah. This is the first one that I ever brought to Tyler. This is like whenever we first met, we met at the studio, and I showed him Slip, and he was just like, oh, wow, like, you write? And I'm like, got this. And so showed it to him, and we just started like refining it and like making it better together. And that was just like one of my favorite memories I had with Tyler is working on that song. And just to see where it's come from the very, very beginning. Like, I know that there's a video of me on my Instagram playing it like way, way back in high school, like at an open mic, and I'm like strumming really fast and like it's completely different. And like it's come so far in just like such a beautiful way. And I'm so happy like that I brought it to you and that like we made it so much better.
Yeah, it's also just really cool because that was also kind of how she got involved with The Voice. Because we did a So Far show, and it was a really, like, with So Far, they basically do a professional recording of one of your songs, and then, you know, you upload it to YouTube. So somebody from The Voice had reached out and said, hey, we saw your So Far video of Slip, you know, so that song has, you know, multiple
so
meanings.
much meaning.
you know, for different reasons, but that being one of them.
Yeah, and I think it's so cool, Tyler, that this was the first song that she gave to you. So bring us back to the day when you first heard and saw this song. What were you thinking?
Yeah, well, you know, I loved all the melodies. Obviously I loved like her voice and how, you know, and the words and everything was so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I think I immediately kind of always heard it as just an acoustic song with the two of us.
Yeah.
We played it several different times, and that's one of the other things that's fun about having a band is, you know, you can play it like, oh, let's just the bass player, you know, or just drums, or just another guitar. Let's add some stuff and try different things. And it always just kind of felt, you know, right, just the two of us. So, you know, honestly, whenever I heard it, it was just more of like, okay, well, how can we keep this like moving? You know, other than like, you know, like staying on the same chord, or, you know, how can we voice things differently and keep things like constantly kind of moving to the songs? It's just the two of us, you know, and then also just orchestrating like, when should the guitar play a lick and stand out, or when should it just be back and when should she stand out? You know, it was just a really fun dynamic of like being reserved on the guitar and letting her sing and float above that, and then just adding little, you know, like little licks here and there, to kind of float around her melody.
Very cool. And I love that somebody from The Voice saw that video, because I think when you go on a show like The Voice, right, the people from The Voice, they scout social media. They're like, oh, I saw this video of so-and-so or whatever, right? But then they saw that video and they were like, oh my gosh, we need to talk to Joe. We need to.
Yeah, for sure. Like, that was super special to hear, especially because it was an original song and it wasn't just like a cover song, you know? So that gave me a lot of like definitely like hope for like my originals and the future with that. And it was just, yeah, it was super awesome that they found me that way.
So the next song, track 8, Need a Day.
Yeah, Need a Day is originally was probably like on the low end of the list as far as like my favorites, but like now it's up here. Like, hearing how far it's come, it's definitely one of those that's like, that just got completely transformed in the best way possible. So yeah, it was Miles on drums, Zeb, Tyler, and Dave on keys. And then we had this amazing slide guitar player, Ariel Posen, play slide on it. And that solo is so amazing, and we cannot be more happy with it. So it's definitely come such a long way from where it began. And yeah, it ended up on one of my favorites, so.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with Ariel Posen, you should totally go and check his music out. He's a singer-songwriter from Canada, and he actually worked on, we had the connection because he worked on one of my songs called Another Taste, and I loved everything he played on that, so I was like, Ariel, please, you have to play on this as well. And he just totally nailed every single slide part.
Yeah.
It was really beautiful.
Very cool. Track 9, He Don't.
He Don't. Oh, that's another one that, so actually we recorded this one together at Webster University, like in this like art room with our friend Kane Katuvic. He's a videographer, and he was like, I'll shoot this cover for you. And so we went in after school hours and like into this big like warehouse art room, and I just like sat on like one of the tables, and like Tyler pulled up a chair, and Kane caught that cover, and it was kind of like a live cover of that, and then it went into Blessed by David Daniel Caesar, yeah, so that was like the first version that we had of it, and I brought that to another friend of mine, Pete Lombardo. He's an amazing, incredible guitar player in St. Louis. And whenever I did gigs with him at this one cigar bar called Montrese, I brought him that original to look at, and we practiced it and we played it at Montrese, and I always kept him in mind as wanting to have him do a solo on that song. So whenever time rolled around for us to record it, I hit him up and his band, The Service. They're kind of like a funk band in St. Louis. And I had them back me up on it. And yeah, so those guys are incredible. It's Pete Lombardo, Andy Coco, Nathan Hershey, and we had Miles play on it. Their original drummer is Grover Stewart. He moved to Chicago, unfortunately, that same year and couldn't make it back for it. But those guys killed it. Really love Pete's part on that. And yeah, it's come a long way.
Tyler, what are your thoughts on He Don't?
Yeah, no, I mean, that whole thing, I mean, you know, there's a ton of little drum things that Miles does that I love. I mean, each musician brought, you know, they all bring just so much to the table. You know, Pete, like, so far what we've seen is people are like, who's playing guitar on Me Today and He Don't?
Yeah.
And, like, who is that soloist? You know, because Pete has like a super fast like solo on the outro. Yeah. And he also has some really cool ideas to like bring the song to life. Like on the outro, he totally changed the chords up and like made it a little more, you know, like hip or new and fresh.
Yeah.
Something that we didn't have before, which really kind of gave that song a lift and, you know, really brought it to life.
Yeah, absolutely. And then our friend Keegan threw down some organ after the matter and filled it out a lot. And yeah, it's come a long way. It's really rad.
And also, so I know that earlier, I don't know if we talked about the mastering engineer. So our mastering engineer throughout this whole album has been Sam Moses out of Nashville. He's a fantastic mastering engineer. We used several throughout this entire process, but then we had Sam remaster some because especially whenever you put out a full-length album with 14 songs, you want to have a consistency, and that happens a lot with the mastering. So we had Sam remaster a few and then master all the rest of them, and he did a fantastic job on all these songs.
Beautiful. Track 10, Make It Up Tonight.
Yeah. Okay, so the first thing I want to say about this one is one of our favorite things when we were listening back to the album, like all the way through, was the way that Me Today goes into He Don't. Yeah. That was like kind of unexpected. We didn't even really like plan it like that, and like that was one of my favorite parts of it. Wait, this is Make It Up Tonight. Oh yeah. Okay, so Make It Up Tonight. This was the one that I did with some of my friends. They produced it. Montel Moore, Thomas Payton, and Peter Plank. I brought this one to those guys, and we just kind of had fun with it. Tried out a few different things, and we only really had like one day to like mess with it. So it was pretty like bare the way that it was, and like honestly, we did it so long ago, and like I you know, everybody just has such busy lives, and we went back to it every now and then, and added some things, and like Peter added some things with like little vocal pads and things like that. But I just felt so bad hitting up Peter all the time because like he would text me the stems of it. I was like, hey, can you text me the stems? Like I'm gonna do something with this, and then like I just wouldn't, or he would send it to me, and I'd be like, oh, thank you so much, and then like we just wouldn't talk for like the longest time, and I would get a new phone or something like that, or like lose my messages.
It would disappear.
Yeah, I'd be like constantly hitting him, and finally, yeah. So I finally got that, and then it was honestly one of like the very last songs that we had stuff to work on like before getting out the full album.
We had Miles Vandiver come in and play the drums, and Logan Miller came in and rocked on the guitar. He did all the guitar parts. Yeah, Logan crushed it. So did Miles. Everybody, that's definitely one of my favorite like vocal tracks on the album, and definitely something that I would like for the next album keep in mind and like dip into more is just having more vocal days, or more time with like working things like that out, because it's definitely one of my favorite parts like of the album. Montel and I think Peter did some stuff too, where we just like hashed out that like the ending and some of the background vocals on it. So that's like definitely like one of the different songs on the album, and it was one that I was like, do I save this one for a later album with that has stuff more like this on it? Like, because it's definitely one of more of the like hip hop R&B vibes than anything else on the album. But I was like, no, you know, like I kind of like it for this one. You know, like it's kind of along the same storyline, and like I feel like
this is who I was when I wrote it, and like if this is Best of Me, the compilation of, you know, what I, you know, who I am this past 3 years or so, like
Yeah.
might as well keep it in there, you know. And like a lot of the songs on the album are different and not sonically the same, so like I just thought, you know what, let's put it on there. And yeah, I'm really happy that I did. And
Yeah, and personally, I hate thinking about genres.
Yeah.
Like, I hate, you know, having to say, oh, well, I'm pop, or I'm singer-songwriter, or I'm, you know, country. You know, because ultimately, it's Joanna Serenko. Like, she's the one who's writing these songs. So, you know, like, human beings are, you know, we're complex, you know, beings. So it's like, and we pull from all types of different, you know, music backgrounds and genres. So like, it's totally normal and natural for her to one day write a song that's more singer-songwriter, just acoustic, and then, you know, the next song has like an 808 on it or something, and more like R&B. And so, and that's totally okay. So I think that that's something that we want to definitely kind of remember just with all the music that we're making. You know, let's just be true to, be authentic to who we are.
Yeah, exactly. And like not boxing ourselves in like into one genre. Because like there are so many amazing artists who just are, you know, who they are, and not like, oh, well, you're country and you're like pop. It's like, well, like what about Stevie Wonder? Like, what would you box him in as? And like a bunch of different amazing artists. Like I think that that's super rad if you can like kind of tune out the world and just like hone in on what your heart has to say. And then having amazing people come and like put their own hearts on it with different parts that they'll play, and then it just kind of like forms itself into something beautiful. And yeah, instead of like trying to like micromanage every little part of it to make it what you think it should be, you know.
Yeah, I like what you guys said about, you know, being exposed to different genres, right? Because you don't want to be like, I'm pop, I'm R&B, I'm country. I think it could be all those things and then some. Because if this is something that you were writing, like, I love the way it sounds, like this was the past 3 years for you, and this is where you were now. Think about if maybe you took a look at this song 5 years from now, maybe it would have evolved into something different, right? But I think it's so cool that we're just like, let me just throw this on there, because yeah, it's kind of weird when people are like, oh, I'm only pop, or I'm only country, I'm only blues. Like, no, just do your thing, and like the right people will gravitate towards your music and be like, that's really cool, I could hear these kind of elements in all the music. It's really important.
For sure. Yeah.
Track 11, Doing Right.
All right, this one's super fun because you know, there was a time, I think it was one of the spring breaks, or it might have been over Christmas. It was kind of, you know, during some of the craziness and everything getting shut down. And honestly, we just needed to kind of get away from St. Louis. So we hopped in our car with Cedar, which is our wonderful little Labradoodle.
He's sitting out right
and
now. Yeah, you want me to bend it down?
And he's passed out. I don't know.
Okay, no, it's okay. I'm sure he's the cutest little thing.
We'll show you later. He'll be here.
If he wakes up later, show him, because I like people bring their dogs on the show.
Yeah, but we drove to Laguna Beach, California.
Cool.
And it was one of the days, honestly, we just went to, I mean, it was cold, you know, but we just needed to get outside and see the ocean. And so honestly, we just kind of sat down at the beach one day with the guitar and I just kind of started practicing different like triads and inversions and stuff. And all of a sudden I just kind of started playing.
No, I'm sorry. I saw you guys, but I couldn't hear the audio. So I just went back for like 30 seconds.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, no, I was just saying.
You were on the beach. You were on the beach and you were playing chords. Okay.
Yeah, just kind of making up some chords, and she heard it, and you know, so we started thinking about like, oh, we should finish that song, and so we went and we worked on that.
Yeah. Let me grab a charger really fast.
She's having some technical difficulties.
I didn't think it would drain that fast.
I know.
Yeah, so and it was a really cool song because one reason it was cool is because we literally, there was like a heater in the room.
Yeah.
And it was making like this really low sound. It was making a really low sound in the background. There was like a heater. And it just kept kind of like droning on and on. And so then that's how we played.
I don't know what I'm gonna do. All right, well, here's Cedar for right now. While I get this plugged in, I think what I'm gonna do is set it up right here. All right, this will work.
Oh my gosh, I love your light situation. Wait, is it 3 things of lights? What?
We've got.
Wait, oh my gosh, your setup is crazy. I didn't know it was that intense.
Oh yeah, we go hard over here.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It's just
it's like one light with different colors.
It's like his. It's like our like gig.
Here, you
Outdoor
sit,
Oh heck yeah, that's so cool.
sit over there.
Oh, all right, sorry. I should have planned for that.
All good.
All right.
It's okay.
All right, hang on one second. Let me tell Siri. I'll turn my low power mode off so it won't go dark on me. All right.
Okay, cool. I think we're good. Yeah, we're good to go.
All right. I gather my heartbeat. All right. I'm ready.
That's fine.
Okay. Are we doing
No,
right?
no, we're just talking through that.
Oh, okay. Rad. We're talking about doing right?
Yeah, we were talking about doing right, yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely one of my favorites. Definitely one of my favorite guitar parts on this album.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely love the way that, like, every time I listen to it, I just picture us back on the beach. And I was telling that to Trenton, who is our mixing engineer and who was kind of like putting everything together. And he was like, oh, like, I think I can like put some beach sounds on here. And so he found some waves and like some footprints and stuff like that. And it really made the song. So, yeah.
Awesome. Tyler, do you want to move back in? Want to move in closer?
I was just gonna move this a little
Oh.
more, so yeah, that's better. Here, you scoot up a little bit. I'll just
There we go. There
It's
we
all
go.
good.
Oh,
Sorry for the.
all good. All good. That's the fun of Instagram Live. You just never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Roll with the punches. Track 12, Rewind.
Rewind. Oh yeah. This is one that Tyler and I wrote together. Honestly, I thought about this lyric idea in the shower, and I was like, "Ooh, like I think this could be something like." Because honestly, I knew in my heart that I have so many slow songs, and like I was like, I really gotta like mix some not slow, sad songs. So that's kind of how Rewind came about. I was like, baby, can we start over? Like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, how can I extend that and make that dope? And let go of our history. I just want you to sit with me. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, let's do that. And then just kind of like kept singing that. And threw some more lyrics in. And I brought that chorus or the verse and the chorus to Tyler. And I was like, check this out. And like he threw some dope chords on there. And I was like immediately feeling like this is so dope. Like this is gonna be the one. And so then we were like, okay, well, where's it gonna go? Like for this bridge, and he started figuring out this chord progression that was just so rad. And I remember people like in our bands, certain people being like, oh, like that should be a different note.
Wait, is that the right chord?
Yeah. But I was like, that's right, that's the one. You should play it just so
Yeah,
people hear it.
that's the other thing too. You know, sometimes like we were inspired by this song called "Danger" from
Oh yeah.
Skyline Motel, and there were a bunch of producers out of Nashville, and so we heard this chord, and we were like, "What is that chord?" Like, and it was so majestic. So we were like, "We need to figure out a way to like put that on a song, or like figure out a way to, So we kind of started working on this bridge. But that's the other thing with collaborating too is, a lot of times is like, as songwriters, Joanna and I, or she, like, we've been thinking about the song, we've listened to the song a million times, and we kind of have like certain things that we really want to hold on to, you know. So that's a lesson in itself of, you know, when you're collaborating with people, of knowing when to say, oh yeah, let's scrap this completely, and also knowing when to say, no, let's keep going. I think something's there. You know, there was a purpose behind this.
Yeah.
And you know, I think I'm ultimately happy that we like stuck it out and kept with the chord and kept fighting for it.
Can you scooch in a little closer, Tyler?
Oh yeah.
Oh, my mom's nagging.
Yeah.
She said, move closer.
Both of your beautiful faces.
Thank you.
All right, track 13, Nobody Else.
Nobody else. Okay, this is the only song on the album that I played piano on. And we recorded it at Trenton Bilo's house, who was our mixing engineer, on his beautiful piano. It was like, was that a Baby Grand?
Yeah, I think so.
Baby Grand. And yeah, I don't even know what to say about this song. It's so special to me. And like, yeah, it's just me and Tyler, so it's nobody else.
Yeah.
And we recorded it over there, and that's all. I don't really know what to say about that one. It's pretty like self-explanatory.
Yeah, I mean, like I would say a really cool thing that was like added late was that whole outro.
Oh yeah.
You just randomly.
Well, I was practicing because I was so nervous, you know, like because you know I just wanted to be on top of it for the session, and like I don't know, I hadn't played on anything else, and I wanted to rock it, and so I was just practicing it a lot, and I was just messing around with different things, and I kind of played this different chord progression, and I was like, oh, like, I wonder if that would be cool if we added this little outro. And so I just messed around with the chords and played that little bit, and I was like, all right, I'm going to send this to Tyler and see what he thinks about it. And he was like, oh, yeah, totally. And so, yeah, we added it on, and it ended up being really cool. And Tyler ripped one of the most beautiful solos I've ever heard in my life. Wait, would it be ripped, or does that mean, like...
Either way, ripped, played.
Yeah, ripped. He ripped it out, and it was really good. So definitely one of my favorite songs in the album as well.
It's also musically it's fun because it's one of the only songs that has a tempo change. So after the song is done, then there's a tempo change and it kind of slows down, and then that's where the kind of the outro is. So musically it was kind of fun to play over and add on the song. We actually kept fighting with like, do we end the album with Nobody Else, or do we, you know, end it with Till Everything's Blue, which is number 14.
Yes.
You know, and I know that with Till Everything is Blue is like, we recorded that pretty early on, and we just kind of always thought like, this is going to be the last song on the album. Like, it just had a, you know, we liked the outro of it.
Yeah.
Not to skip Till Everything is
Blue.
Blue.
No, but yeah, like, and we recorded that one. Honestly, Nobody Else was, I think, the last song that we recorded, which was just like made it a really special memory. So like that's kind of why in our heads we probably thought like, ooh, do we end it with this one? And it ends on, you know, like the chord that I used a few times in throughout the album. And ultimately we went with Till Everything's Blue. I think I wanted to end on something for everybody, you know, and it also ends. I was torn because I loved the resolve of Nobody Else, but Till Everything's Blue kind of hangs on to that end chord, like as if there's something that is coming next, you know. And I was like, well, I kind of like leaving it open, you know, because there is more next.
Yeah, for the next album.
Yes.
So, yeah, absolutely. So that's what we went with.
Till Everything is Blue is also fun because she actually wrote that with our friend Parker.
Yeah, her name's Parker Gray. She lives in, is it Vancouver? Is that Canada?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I just want to make sure. And she's amazing. She's a country singer. Her thing is like sad country, which she's brilliant at. She's got some songs out, so if you guys want to check her out, you should. And we just hopped on FaceTime one day, and I brought some of these lyrics to her, and like kind of honestly I would say like she helped mostly with talking it out with me, and like really helping me figure out how I wanted to say things and what exactly I wanted to say, because like I kind of just had a few lines, and that needed to be extended, and I was like, like, how can I put this? And I think like, even if the sky is falling was in there, no matter what, like I did not have the next part. And we're like, well, what if the sky's falls? And it's like, well, everything, everything's blue. And it kind of just like figured itself out that way. And yeah, it was just a really beautiful, fluid songwriting experience. So she's a great co-writer, and yeah.
And then it was fun too, musically. Whenever she brought it to me, I was first like hearing this like, almost like a Jimi Hendrix like chord progression, and like, like there's like a little bass, part, kind of thing in there, which is kind of like a, Hendrixy thing, but
yeah, like bluesy, like Bonnie Raitt vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, definitely like one of the most powerful songs on the album. So yeah, it definitely made sense to end with that one. And yeah, another thing I love about that last one is like the little quote, "Everything is everything," and it's off one of my favorite Lauryn Hill albums. So I put that one in there at the end. But yeah, that's the last song of the album, and that concludes Best of Me, the album.
Yeah. So beautiful. So I'm going to ask you some questions, and I actually want both of you guys to answer. I think it'd be really cool right now to just learn a little bit more about how you guys work well together in the collab and all that. I think it's just a really cool thing when I meet a couple that works together musically. So you guys are cool with that?
Yeah.
Beautiful. So what would you guys like for people to know about this album? Like, what do you want them to take away when they listen to this album?
That's a good question. What do I want people to take away? I should have thought about that.
I've never been asked that or thought about it. That's a great question.
I mean, I just hope that people enjoy it and want to play it all the time, and want to play it in their cars and at work and like everywhere, I love making people feel good, and I feel like one of the best ways I've been able to do that in my life is music. And so if I'm bringing other people joy, then I feel a lot of joy. So that's definitely what I want people to feel when they take away with it. What else can I say? What can you say?
Yeah, well, it's funny because we're always thinking about, it's so often we don't think about, that. We're thinking about, okay, like this, how can we bring this song to life? How can we bring this song to life? And we're just we've been so focused on just getting it out, like having like a body of work. From my experience, at least, I've been in several different bands with my sister, and I was always calling myself an original artist or something, but then I wouldn't have like music out, or I wouldn't have a song out. And so I was always thinking it's really important, especially for Joanna, like as we're saying, yeah, she's a recording artist, singer, songwriter. We've always thought that it's important to have a body of work, a large body of work out there. And so honestly, with this album, I think that's like the biggest thing that's kind of like come through is like, I would say that we're both really proud of like the foundation that this album has, made for her. Like this is her debut album, and each song is special in a different way. And so I think that's, kind of like the big thing is like, this is just the beginning, this is a great foundation. Kind of like what we said about releasing the song on 222, right? Like this is just the beginning. The best is ahead of us, musically, just really in every way.
I love what you said about releasing it on 222, but then also releasing those singles on Tuesday. Like, I love that like whole numerology thing behind it. It's very cool.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
What do you guys like about working with one another?
Ooh, I love working with Tyler because it doesn't even feel like we're working. It just feels like we're playing.
Yeah.
And another thing that I love about Tyler is that like he fills in like my cracks. Like I'm the one who is more like or I've been, at least with my songs, obviously, but have been more of like coming up with the lyrics and the melodies, and then I'll bring them to Tyler and he'll like fill it out and pick out all the things that like, you know, all the ideas that he hears. And you know, whether that's like inserting a cool new like chord progression or, you know, picking out like a dope rhythm, just like everything that I'm hearing in my head, or like, you know, that I could hear that I wouldn't have even thought of that would have been perfect, is like always filled in by Tyler. So that's why like every time I think of anything, like anything remotely close to an idea, I just send it to him so he can like hear it and be like, oh cool, like let me add this part, and just kind of like it just snowballs like together. And that's just how I would describe our music relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I would you know, before I kind of get into how it is necessarily working with her, I think one thing is that's so important is like both of our individual passion is for music. We're passionate about music.
Yeah.
And so just like outside of playing together, outside of, you know, like recording together or writing together, just like listening to music, you know, just like she's somebody who I've always loved, you know, musically, because she's always sending me new artists. She's always listening to different people. And she's always sending me like new ideas that are inspiring and, you know, make me think of, you know, like other little tangents or other little ideas of, oh, this could be a song, or, you know, so she's always really good at that. I just love listening to music and sharing that with her. But I would say just in the studio, it's so fun and so inspiring to see, you know, how driven she is. You know, obviously everybody knows she has an incredible voice. You know, it just like oozes off of her, like the, you know, one of the most talented people that I've ever met, you know, or been around.
Yeah.
But also, you know, not everybody sees her like recording it like, you know, 10 to 20 times, because, you know, even though every single time is perfect to me, you know, but like it's fun and it's inspiring to me to watch her, even though it's perfect. She, you know, records it, you know, like I'm saying, you know, 10 times, because she wants to be like extra, like perfect and right on. You know, she doesn't want to have any notes off, you know, so like working together like that, seeing, you know, helping each other fulfill our dreams. That's another just some beautiful thing, is this is our dream, is to write and play music together. So, you know, that's probably the best part, is we're just helping each other, you know, follow this dream of music and playing music together.
And I love that you're both so passionate about music, right? Because when you're in a relationship, like you could be in a relationship with anybody, right? But it's like when you find somebody and you're like, I love music. Oh my gosh, you love it too. And like, we can work together. And I look at something this way, but then like, it's like the yin to the yang. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Totally. Like we'll be in the car and we'll be driving and like he'll pick out a part that I wasn't paying attention to, and then I'll listen to it and I'll be like, oh cool, or like, and then vice versa. And it's just super fun to like have somebody who can hear things the way you hear them, and like have that language with one another.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the language of music is so important, because maybe you listen to like an instrumental of a song and there's no lyrics whatsoever, right? But then the way that piece of music just moves you, and you're like, maybe you start crying, maybe you're just like, oh, this is really cool, it reminded me of this vacation I went on, right? It's like music is so powerful in that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
1,000,000%.
Mm-hmm. So that's all the questions I have for you guys this evening, but you guys are going to perform for us.
Lovely. Do you think it'll cut us off at an hour or no?
You know what? It used to. It doesn't anymore. So you're good to go.
Okay. Awesome. Love to hear it. Cool. Let me get a swig of water really fast.
Yeah, I thought that you were going to start asking, what are your challenges?
You know what? I think that's important to ask, because, you know, I know as musicians, people face a lot of challenges. So, I mean, if you want to dig into that, we can do it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was just going to say probably one of the challenges for her is, you know, I know that I can be tough, because I want everything to be, you know, especially if I'm really in the moment or something, like, you know, it's hard because we care about it so much, you know, like we care about the album and all the parts being the best. And so I'd say, probably, you know, sometimes like when you're just so serious, you're so in the mode, you know, like, you know, like almost working too hard, or just kind of like, you know, sometimes at that we can get at each other just a little bit. or just, sometimes, like earlier we mentioned, like staying up until like 3 a.m. on Sister Nostalgia, like, we both have multiple jobs. And so that's honestly, when it comes to like having deadlines, the challenging part has been, but it's like it's challenging, but it's also a good thing. But like, sometimes I'll be up comping or working on a song and, until 2 or 3 in the morning. So then I'm not getting a lot of sleep, so
yeah.
Just kind of like dealing
towards
with
the end
time.
there, it was like getting tight, and it just became into a vicious cycle where we'd be up every single night, like working on the songs. So that deadline was definitely a huge challenge for the album. But yeah, like I wouldn't say that we have too many.
No.
And plus, it's fun.
We love to just get on each other's nerves. That's what it is. In the best way.
Definitely. But the thing is, you're staying up late and you're working on something that you guys love.
Yeah.
So like, you're tired the next day and maybe the next day after that and that, but you're like, look at what came out of that. Like, look at the body of music that we came out with. And it wouldn't have been unless we did 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. nights. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Totally.
exactly.
Totally.
Right.
Awesome. So you guys want to get into it?
Let's do it. Yeah. So this first one.
I tell you that your mom said, Joanna and Tyler, you are the best. Oh, that's so cute.
Oh, Annie. Love you, Mom. Yeah, this first one, I just saw the ones that you posted with our promo that I was like, okay, she picked those ones, so let's do these two.
Yeah, because the thing is, there were so many beautiful pictures that you sent me, and then I saw you guys together, and I was like, oh my gosh, those pictures are so great. Like, such a beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So this first one is called Doing Right, and yeah, hope you like it. You leave me speechless, can't even write. Just hope I'm doing what you like, but I know you can resist my hands. We're on our bullshit like every day. Nothing I do can go your way. Back every night, but I wait doing right. Hey, this world is changing, we stay the same. Still I can't help but be your friend. Tired of failing, searching for light, but you still keeping me by your side. What am I doing right? What am I doing right? Yeah.
Yes!
Yay!
So I just wanted to read one comment that came through. Jewel said, my favorite artist. Oh, thank you, Jewel.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. She also said, Ashley, you're gorgeous.
Thank you, Jules. Doing right in my top 5 for sure, says
thank you.
SYA. I don't know.
Thank you so much.
Top 5. Awesome. And your next one?
Cool. We've got Rewind for you. Baby, can we start over? Let go of our history. I just want you to sit with me and see me like it's the first time. Maybe we can just rewind. Baby, can we start over? Let go like it's the first time. Maybe we can just rewind. Oh, 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 Lord, oh, oh, yeah. Oh, 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 Lord, baby, please start over. I don't want nobody else. Don't you remember how it felt to hold it like it's the first time? Maybe we can just rewind. Oh, 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 Lord, oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, 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 Lord, I need you in the your body next to me. I love you from your head down to your feet. I need you in the your body next to me. 'Cause I love you. Yeah, I love you. I need you in the your body next to me. 'Cause I love you. From your head down to your feet, I need you in your body next to me, 'cause I love you, baby. Can we start over? Let go of our history. I just want you to sit with me and love me like it's the first time. And maybe we can just rewind. Oh, 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 Lord, oh, oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, 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 Lord, oh, oh.
Woo! Thank you so much, guys. That was so beautiful. So I just want to scroll up really quick because there were some comments that came through. SYA said rewind, also top 5.
Yay!
What a voice. Great rhythm guitar.
Yes.
Jules said we need more artists like her. Pure soul right there. I totally agree with Jules. Love it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, yes. So guys, do you have some time for some questions from the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's open it up.
Beautiful. So guys, if you're in the chat right now and you have questions for Tyler or Joe, please feel free to put them in the comment section below. And that rhymes.
Yeah.
So guys, if you had the opportunity to collab with an artist, which artist would you collab with and why?
The first 3 people that pop into my head are that I've seen, the people that I've seen in concert who I would really love to collaborate with. The first one that popped into my mind was Alan Stone.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know when I found his music, but just definitely one of my favorite artists and singers and songwriters. And what else can I say? Whenever I went to his concert, he was just so gracious and like really truly thankful that you were there in the audience. And like, that's something that I remembered as a fan. And I was like, wow, I really want to incorporate that into my artistry. And so it's just such a great inspiration of mine. And I love him so much. The other person I thought of was Emily King. I saw her in concert. We saw her together. And just an amazing soul. Like, what a beautiful songwriter and singer. I would love the opportunity to collaborate with her one day. A couple more would probably be Daniel Caesar and John Mayer. 2 of our biggest influences, like definitely some people that we would love to collaborate with in the future. What about you?
I was just going to throw 2 more in because you said so many great ones. 2 producers that we both really love and follow are Daniel Tachian. Daniel plays, actually it's Daniel and then it's Ian Fitchick. and they are the producers for like people like Casey Musgraves, and they've worked with like Little Big Town, and they've kind of done all, you know, different genres, and they're just great songwriters and producers who play all the instruments. I'd really love for us to work with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
for
they'll
sure.
be. Yeah. Jules says, I'd love you to do a collab with Howie Day.
Oh, yeah. Even the best fall down sometimes. Oh, I love him.
That would be cool.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
Will you be coming to Boston at some point?
Boston.
If you bring out 100 people and sell out.
Yeah, you bring out the people, we'll be there.
I mean, that is something, though, that we have been talking about more and more recently is touring.
Yeah.
You know, especially over like the summer.
Yeah, so definitely I'll probably make a post at some point and like say, hey, holler about what cities we should come to, because that's definitely something on our list of things to do. Probably this summer. I would really hope to at least do a duo tour this summer, and then maybe eventually doing it with the full band. So
yeah, Jules said she could bring out mad people, so that's what I like to. That's what I like to see.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. Rad.
I think it's really cool that you said, like, yeah, I definitely think it's cool to put a post like, hey, what city do you want me to come to? Like, and then kind of like take note of all those cities, because then it's kind of like, you never know what cities could eventually pop up on the list. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I think another thing we go by too is as well is like, we can, one of the cool things about Spotify or iTunes or anything like that is you can see like what cities are the top cities that people listen to your music in. So I know for her, for example, New York City is a big one. So we'll definitely be heading up to New York at some point. Denver, Chicago, those are other big ones. We love the, you know, all the major cities.
Yeah, for sure.
C. Don says, how many hours on average do you put into a song from the time you first come up with the basic melody to the time it's finished?
Great question.
Well, that's a funny question because sometimes we'll hammer the whole thing out in one day.
Yeah.
And there are still songs that we are sitting on that we have not finished. So it really ranges, like just depending on like where we're at, you know, what we have going on, and like in the middle of when we're writing the song, like honestly, we're both like, we want to start different projects all the time, and like we don't necessarily always finish them. But like that's kind of like, I guess if we were to say like if we were writing in one day, how long it would probably take would probably range, I don't know, sometimes we knock things out in like a couple hours. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, I was gonna say the other thing though too about this album is it's all been basically funded by the two of us too. So
you mean like finish a song?
Yeah.
Oh, like
I think they're talking about like finish.
I was just meaning like the writing process. Well, yeah.
You know, so
like,
sometimes we're waiting. You know, it's literally, you know, paying for the musicians, paying for the studio time. Like sometimes you just kind of have to wait.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too about, you know, collaborating with other people is you also have to deal with their scheduling.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's sometimes it can, you know, like there's been songs that took a couple months, honestly, to get out all the way, or to be, you know, or sometimes.
Well, Make It Up Tonight was, I don't even remember when we all started that song, but we didn't finish it until probably like a year.
2 or 3 years.
Oh, a couple years, maybe, yeah.
Just kind of sitting on the back burner, or
and
like,
so that's kind of fun to think about. Is like that's 2 years ago, like my oldest recording. So it's like fun to see how much I've grown and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. So for the people watching right now, how can they support you guys as musicians? Like, what can they do? Can they donate? Can they buy merch? Can they, like, what can they do? Like, what can these beautiful people watching do for you guys?
Absolutely. Definitely give us a follow if you're not already following both of us. It's Tyler Dale Music and Joanna Serenko. I think I meant to pin my Venmo up here, but that would be super, super helpful for both of us. It's just Joanna-Serenko. Honestly, I'm going to have a website up and running here pretty soon. And then we're going to get our Patreons up and running as well. So once those are out, like that would definitely be where we would love you to support. But other than that,
for right now, I would say go stream, go buy,
share, listen,
share,
all of that. Like just really taking in the album, enjoying it, and sharing it with your friends and family, I think is the best way to spread the love. So that would be the best.
And I would also kind of throw in that, you know, it can be really, sometimes, you know, as an artist or as a creative person, you know, you can get down on yourself, and you know, you go through this like mountain and valleys with emotions, and so one thing is too is like it's so life-giving whenever like people reach out and say, hey, I love doing right, or man, this song, you know, like hearing like positive affirmations about, you know, the album, you know, that kind of stuff, all of that.
That's another thing, and that costs $0 is just like feeding into it, like
just like inspiration, or you know, like,
exactly, and just like reminding us that, like, what you love about it, like the album, and like what you like, and giving us that input is super helpful, especially as artists who, you know, we like get in our heads and we like need the motivation and inspiration. And so like that's something that we would love from you guys, is just to keep up with us and tell us what you like, what you want to hear more of, and all of that.
Yeah, I think commenting on posts is so important, because I think some like it, right? You get like 300 likes in a post, but then there's very few people that actually write a thoughtful comment. So thoughtful comments that say like, hey, this song got me through a really difficult time, or, you know, I love this lyric in the song. It really, it hit something within me. Like, I think that's so powerful. And also adding songs to playlists is really important, because then more people know, and they're like, oh, we're going to add it to this playlist. Like, as far as like Spotify goes, there are songs that are added to certain playlists just because they're very popular. So it's really important with like playlisting and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Literally any way you can interact with our music, or, you know, us, is what we want. So
definitely. So guys, do you have any final words for the room?
First of all, thank you so much for listening and following along with this entire journey, this musical journey.
Yeah, absolutely. Just thank you. Like, that's all I really have to say. Thank you so much for being here and listening to us talk and sing. And yeah, just stream the album and share it and love it. And that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for having us on.
Of course, guys. The album is amazing. Song after song after song, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want this to end. And then it ends 14 songs later. I'm like, no! So beautiful, guys. Stream the music, buy the music, share it with your friends, add it to your playlist, share, like, comment, do all that beautiful stuff. Guys, if you don't already, please make sure to follow Joanna and Tyler, and tell all your friends about this phenomenal album that was released. As you know, their heart and soul and passion was behind the entire project. So guys, please support good music. And if you don't already, please make sure to follow me. I'm Ashley Live. This is Vibin with Ashley Live. And like I said, follow me, follow Joe, follow Tyler, and have a beautiful and safe weekend. We'll see you next time, guys. Thanks.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you.